Ahoy there, Krew! This is your captain speaking, and today we're drawing some fan art in a color wheel. The character I decided to draw for the red section is Chris Redgrave from High Guard. I haven't really seen a lot of people talking about this anime, but I thought it was pretty good. And as a character with a red color scheme, Chris was, of course, my favorite. To make this section look a little more interesting, I decided to draw him holding up his playing card between his fingers. I never noticed that the details on his shirt were tiny hearts. I just thought that was very cute, so I wanted to share that. I drew the pattern on its own before moving it to fit the shirt. This is usually easier than drawing it directly onto the shirt, but it can make the art look a little more flat. I wasn't too worried about that though, because there would be a lot going on in the final color wheel after all. For the yellow section, a friend suggested that I draw Dio from JoJo's, and so I did just that. I think the part I struggled with most was the pose. I had some trouble fitting it into the section without it looking weird or too imposing on the green character. After that, I went on to struggling with the hair. It was a little odd to draw, and I didn't have a lot of space at the top to make it as voluminous as I wanted to. Luckily, I don't think it looks too bad after all that. The hair was, however, my favorite part to render. I tried doing it a little differently to add more texture, but I think I really like this method. For the green section, I drew Mau Mau from the Apothecary Diaries. I love this girl so much. To make her section more interesting, I had her cover part of her face with the handkerchief. I decided to draw Mau Mau all dressed up, but only later realized that this outfit's design doesn't really have much green. But at least her hair was green, right? Wrong. In so many screenshots, the base tone of her hair is blue, even though I've been translating it into my mind as being green. And of course, she got the detailed shiny eyes treatment since her eyes are nice and big. I just love adding tiny details into the eyes. It's probably my favorite part of my rendering process. Just popping in to remind you that my commissions are open, so if you like what you see and would like an artwork for yourself, please consider taking a look at my Ko-fi. I'll leave a link down in the description. For the Cyan section, of course, I decided to draw our wonderful Hatsune Miku. I drew her in her iconic outfit. There are a lot of other outfits I could have chosen from, but her default just felt like the way to go. For her section, I didn't add a hand or anything to make the segment more interesting. Her ponytails are already enough of a statement. The square things over her twin tails were a little weird to draw and render, but I think I got a decent shape down after looking at a few references. Her eyes are also pretty shiny and probably my favorite out of all of the drawings in this video. Next up, I drew Inosuke from Demon Slayer for the deeper blue section. His hair was pretty interesting to draw and came out really nice. I will say that I had trouble with getting his face right. The shape ended up a little weird and his eyes look a little too big and round for me. It was a little strange drawing another muscular character. If you've been keeping up with my art, you'll know I don't really do that. So it might be a little too toned down here. To make his section more interesting, I drew his sword peeking into the frame. I accidentally made it end up right in the middle of our color wheel, but I think that's a nice touch. I didn't want to add his hand holding it in though. I still wanted it to look sort of balanced with Miku, since they are both at the bottom. For the last character, I drew Reiju from One Piece into the pink section. I actually almost didn't end up drawing her at all. I almost drew Sanji for the yellow section, but didn't want to do multiple characters from the same anime. Luckily, I drew Dio for that section instead and got to draw my darling Reiju. I drew her in a simple pose where she is just crossing her arms. It makes the pose a little more interesting but still keeps it simple. And might I say, her hand came out amazing. Her color scheme was weird for me to work with. I don't usually like using so many different colors that are so similar to each other in different parts of designs. Her design has at least 3 different pinks in it, and I would never do that, but it still looks good though, don't get me wrong. While I was rendering her, I realized that I forgot her little scarf thing, but I just decided to leave it out. I feel like she looks a little bit nicer without it, even though its blue would have matched her eyes. But that's that, and I finally finished the fan art color wheel. I really love how this came out, but I'd love to know what you all think. I actually did this challenge once before with more characters, but abandoned it when I was one character away from finishing it because I thought it looked horrible. Looking back at it now, it wasn't that bad. But that's all for today, crew. Be sure to like and subscribe to join our little pirate crew. We just hit 100 subs last week, and I'd love for us to grow a lot more. But until our next voyage then, bye bye!